Mason Mount has been linked heavily with United. I think from what we're hearing from the Mason Mount camp, he wants to leave Chelsea, right? So United have tabled, I think the most recent bid is 55 million. He's in the final year of his contract. So what is his value is hard to gauge, isn't it? And how much do you think United have to push to get there, to get him to the club? Do you want him at the club, first of all, as well? Is that a priority for United, do you think? What are your thoughts on the Mount situation, Dave?
I think kind of before it came to light, he wasn't a name that sort of jumped out to me to think that's the sort of, player that we do need. I think the one thing that he will offer us is a lot of strength in depth, and he's certainly going to come in, take place in the squad, if not the first team, and he's going to give us, the kind of player that he is. He's a much better player than the likes of Fred and McTominay, and I mean that's kind of setting the bar a little bit low. I don't know disrespect to those two players, but they shouldn't be starting for Manchester United. And I think Mason Mount, the profile that he has, I think what does appeal to Ten Hag is versatility. He can play in a number of positions, but he is quite effective in the press, which we know obviously is what Southgate also likes in him as well. He can play sort of anywhere, sort of along across the midfield, sort of as an 8 or a 10, and then he's obviously played off of the wing for Chelsea, and I'm pretty sure Chelsea fans haven't been too happy when he has played on the wing. But I think it would be a smart acquisition. I really do, to be honest. And I've warmed more to the idea the more I've heard about it, and the more I've kind of looked into his stats and his numbers over the last, 2 or 3 years. Obviously, this season, it's been one to forget for him, but pretty much everyone in that team. But if you look at his profile and what he will be able to bring in, I think it would be really smart. And he's definitely going to be a systemic player as well. If you look at what he did in that Tuchel team, he was pivotal to that team. That team was ticking over, and how they actually operated, and the structure that they had. I think it'd be a smart signing. It'll be interesting to see if it comes off. Chelsea are being ridiculous about it, and I know a lot's been made out in the press that United not being happy of how they've behaved over it, particularly when they obviously signed Sterling for 50 million last year when they had 1 year left on his contract. There's been a lot about how easy it was to sign Kovacic from Chelsea, and obviously sold him for 30 million to Man City. It does seem like it's kind of inspired a little bit. The way they are kind of acting. It's
been called a United tax, hasn't it? It feels like a bit of a United tax because it's them.
Oh yeah.
I don't think anyone other than a United fan believes that, if I'm totally honest. I think the fee is ridiculous that they're talking about for Mason Mount, but I think comparing it to Kovacic is impossible, because you're also talking about a homegrown player, an English player, which we know there's an English tax. It's not about it being United.
It's not.
If Man City had gone for Mason Mount, he would have been a lot more money than Kovacic. I don't think we've seen Mason Mount at his peak yet, whereas we kind of know what Kovacic's level is. It's a player that is homegrown to Chelsea as well, and I don't think you can let one of yours go that freely. Kovacic has come in, gone out, fine. 30 million in the last year of his contract is smart business. Mason Mount, I think there's still part of Chelsea that think if we keep hold of him this summer, we'll get a contract to him. And he's English. That's the tax. I don't think it's because it's Man United, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think I don't really want to prioritise midfield, though, to be honest. I think for me, if we're going to buy anyone, especially in this weird, uncertain position we're in without a definite ownership plan in place, why are we focusing on midfielders right now? I can see where he'd be a great sort of extra depth for us, especially as like maybe a replacement or a swap out for Christian Eriksen maybe. But for me, goalkeeper's number one, striker's number one. They're a lot more prominent for United in the wish list. So it just feels quite random.
I don't think it's just the English thing either. I think it's more potentially to do with the fact that Chelsea know that United aren't in a position of strength, really. They know we're on a fairly limited budget. They know that United need players, and we need players who are going to give us strength and depth. Mason Mount fits that profile.
So I don't think Chelsea in a position of strength.
And they look at our history of overpaying over the last few years, particularly over the last 10 years, and they're thinking what every other club's been thinking. If you look at last summer, we overpaid for Anthony, we overpaid for Lisandro Martinez. So It's
Well, I don't know about that one.
maybe not in hindsight.
Worth his weight in gold,
Maybe
isn't it?
not in hindsight. Lisandro Martinez now.
Yeah,
I don't think
know.
anyone envisaged him coming in and making that sort of impact. But if you look at how we have operated in the transfer market, it's no wonder that we're trying to get taken for mugs, really, and that we've only got ourselves to blame for that.
I'll be honest, I agree with you, Mike. I don't know if midfield would have been the first area I would have addressed with United. I think Mason Mount makes sense because I think you're right. I think he takes Eriksen's role because Eriksen, obviously, we know struggles for full fitness, isn't going to play 90 minutes every week. It's going to be a long season with you back in the Champions League again as well. So I think it makes sense in that measure. The reason I don't think it makes sense to prioritise that right now is, like you said, Man United don't know what they can do this window. And I fear that every year we see at least one of the big clubs that you go, they've fallen behind everyone else because they've had a really bad transfer window. That looks like Man United this summer to me, if I'm honest, because even the way they're approaching the Mason Mount deal, they've kind of gone in with, I think this is the third bid to Chelsea now, just kind of adding 5 million every time, which is, it's kind of how you first start negotiating when you start playing Football Manager. And then they've said to Chelsea, supposedly now, if the reports are to be true, okay, don't worry about it. That's our bid. If you don't want it, fine. We're going to go after Caicedo instead. Now, that might be a genius bit of negotiating because they know Chelsea want Caicedo and that could drive his price up, costing Chelsea more money. Or they might actually get him and then Chelsea miss out on a target. But if it's not that, then that's bizarre to me because Mount and Caicedo are completely different players. And it feels like if Mount it doesn't come through and you move to your second choice should be another ball-carrying midfielder with a passing range. Not to say Caicedo can't do that, but if you're bringing him in, he's probably going to sit deeper than Mount would, right? So it seems like United are kind of lacking strategy right now. And that's not a surprise when we don't know who's going to be running the club. But think about everything we've seen Man United talk about this summer. Harry Kane, is that going to happen? That's gone dead quiet because United aren't going to put that kind of money in for a player of that age when they don't know who owns the club. If you own that club, putting a lot of money into Harry Kane is worth it because he'll bring you immediate success. But if you're going to sell in 3 months, you don't care about success next season, so you're not buying him. Buying a younger player at least is an asset. They're not going to go in for Osimhen because Napoli are putting a crazy price tag on him. So it's another target that United aren't going to do while they're in the middle of a takeover. There are obvious positions they need to strengthen. Goalkeeper, like you mentioned, we don't know what's going on. De Gea is still not confirmed properly yet that he's signed a new deal. And United are trying to fight in a market that Chelsea and Spurs are fighting in right now without an owner kind of confirmed. So I feel like United could very much find themselves getting to the end of the transfer window. Maybe they'll get Mason Mount over the line and pay 65 million for him, which is what Chelsea say they want now. And then maybe we'll see a couple of free transfers. I just really worry that United are looking in all the wrong places right now and don't seem to have that clear of a strategy.
Yeah, that's the thing. It reminds me of previous summers where we feel like we've finished the season on a relative high and made some progress. Jose Mourinho was exactly the same when he'd won trophies. He got the Europa League, didn't he? He got the League Cup, and you were thinking this is something that could kick us on to more success. It's very similar to what we've achieved this season. And what did they do in the next transfer window? Literally barely anything, I think. And that was it.
The thing is, it's not nothing's going to materialise as long as the club's, kind of in this uncertainty of over its ownership, and it will be deals in principle. They'll be speaking to players and saying, we'll bring you in.
That's too late.
But that's what they can't do. Anything.
You'll miss players.
There's nothing they can
do.
do.
If that's the case, why are they going for Mason Mount now? Why are they putting that kind of money in for a player who's going to be out of contract in the summer?
He's obviously
no one else is in for Mount.
He's obviously
you could wait 12 months.
Well, there was apparently Arsenal and Liverpool were interested in him, but he's made it clear.
No.
He made it clear that he wanted to join Man United.
So he'll wait 12 months.
Yeah,
I feel like it's mental. I just think that the fact that United, I know that's what you're saying, that they'll get that if they can't get him done, then they'll get that agreement in for the summer. But they are trying to get it done now, and it's not their key priority. Eriksen could happily play another season, and they could get Mount on a free, and they could put that 50 million into Rasmus Højlund or someone. If they don't do that, then another club's going to take Højlund this summer, and then who knows? Maybe Mount signs a contract to Chelsea halfway through the season. It just feels like we keep seeing this kind of backwards ideas. Kim Min-jae was done; it was all done, and now he's going to Bayern, and United haven't gone in for another centre-back. Timber, they were desperate for him last summer. Why are they not competing with Arsenal for him now?
Yeah.
Are you telling me that he's changed the kind of player that he is now in the last 12 months to the point where Ten Hag, who knows him, hasn't gone, I still want him if he's available? I just feel like they don't really know what they're doing right now.
If they had the money at the disposal, I've no doubt that Ten Hag would have a very clear picture of what he wants in the club, and there will be action in moves to make that happen. But as it stands, we've got a club in disarray. We've got arguably a board who are incompetent, players in certain positions on the board who aren't good enough to do what this club needs to be successful again, and we're just in an endless cycle. Really.
And on top of that, Dave, we're losing players for peanuts as well. Zidane Iqbal goes for £1 million, and he's worth 10 times that at least.
It has, I think.
So
it's been.
I don't get why it's happening.
I think it's been revealed though. It was mentioned on social media today. I think somebody from Manchester Evening News mentioned that apparently there's a buyback clause and there's a 40% sell-on fee. So, yeah,
I don't know. I feel nervous that United have a really, really quiet summer, struggle to bring anyone in because of this position, and then we see Greenwood as their new striker next season. I feel like the club might panic. I know, but I honestly, and that'll be really, really upsetting if that's the way that this is dealt with, that they kind of panic on everything else. I just think Dave's right. We know there's no money. So where are these bids for Mason Mount coming from if there's no money? Where was the bid for Kim Min-jae if you then can't go in for Timber, if that's who you wanted? That's what I can't get my head around.
Yeah.
You've obviously got some sort of budget. And I think that currently there's a lot coming out of United about players that are available for sale. And we know that United have had leaks for ages. So actually, when you read stuff like that, like the price tags on certain players, normally you go, oh yeah, the Sun or the Daily Mail have probably pulled that out of their backsides. But actually, I wonder if United are trying to say, "This come and get them," because actually the only way we're going to strengthen is if we get 40 million for Harry Maguire, if we get 45 million for Jadon Sancho, if we get 20 million for Anthony Elanga. That's what I've been reading. Apparently, they want 40 million for Scott McTominay as well, which I think is ambitious.
But the thing is, though, that's not strengthening. Though you're losing players and then gaining other players, so the squad is no deeper. You're actually losing depth to just sign different players. You're shuffling pieces of the same board, and it winds me up because I worry about what Erik Ten Hag will be thinking about all of this, and it does feel like Jose Mourinho Mark II. I mean, a lot's been said about Jose Mourinho's time at United, and some fans were divided on him, but I loved him. I thought he was a born winner. He wanted a certain style and certain players, he didn't get them, and ended up being the fall guy for a terrible regime. And I feel like Erik Ten Hag is going down the same route. He identified Gakpo, didn't he, last season? Didn't get him. We were favourites for him for so long, and he's gone to bloody Liverpool. So
Nunes too.
100%, yeah. There's so many players that you can see would really benefit us. Kim Min-jae, perfect. Andre Onana would be fantastic. Why are we not signing and sealing these players now? We know why. It's because we're in limbo and in flux. But where do you draw the line?
I also wonder if Rabiot becomes an option again, because another one that he looked at all of last summer is on a free now, would play the Mason Mount role and save you some money to put somewhere else in the squad. And actually, he's in a better position than he was in last year because he had a really good season.
There was a rumour today that we'd offered him a contract, but then I've seen something else today that's saying apparently he's ready to accept a renewal from Juve.
Yeah.
So
yeah, potentially. Yeah. But Juve are in a sticky position as well. They've got to get some players off the books as well. I know that Di Maria's gone as well, but I don't know. I really wonder what United's strategy is this summer, because for every other club that we've talked about so far, it seemed that it's obvious what they're trying to do. And all right, there's a couple of basket cases, but United, I ain't got a clue what they're doing with Mason Mount and nothing. Nothing against Mason Mount, by the way. Well, yeah, maybe. Last summer I thought you had a great window.
Yeah.
Look at the business you did last summer. That was brilliant. Although you missed out on a couple of key targets.
Yeah.
If someone had offered you Casemiro, Anthony, Lissandro Martinez at the start of last summer, you'd have bitten their hand off.
Yeah, but again, it happened with Jose. Had a great summer, signed a few really good players, and then literally nothing the next season. And I don't want to talk about this anymore. Let's move on. Let's talk about something more positive.